All righty, let's see, where am I? Go live. Okay, I'm on YouTube and Facebook. Just waiting for people to turn up. Okay, I'm just waiting for everyone to turn up. I'm on Facebook and YouTube. Facebook, for some reason, has been slow with lives. Instagram and TikTok are crazy busy, but I don't know what's going on with Facebook. I don't know. So it's a good thing for you. It means I should be able to answer all your questions on here. Anyway, thanks for joining me. I'm still just waiting for people to turn up. While we're waiting, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. And yeah, that's where I'm from, Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? What part of the world are you in? I've got clients all over the world. And I refuse to discuss time zones. I swear my brain just takes an exit. It just pops out of my head. But yeah, I've got clients all over the world, and I can't talk about time zones. I literally get dizzy when they say, "Oh, it's 11 o'clock at night," whereas it's 2 in the afternoon for me. I get very confused. Okay, so where are you from? California, Cali. I know you call it SoCal, Cali, California, Cali. I don't hear that as much. I hear SoCal a lot. UK, hi UK. Ohio, hello Jaden. Okay. Reading, is it Reading or Reading, Pennsylvania? I always thought it was Reading. Is it Reading? Liz from Now, are you from Nebraska and Pennsylvania? I don't know what NE is. Northeast Pennsylvania. Sorry about that. Okay, St. Petersburg, Florida, South Carolina. Yeah, Reading. Okay, good. Reading. It reminds me because it's spelled reading. I lived in Brisbane, Australia for many, many years. And there's this main road. It's a really busy road in Brisbane, and it's spelled R-O-D-E. So it's road, but they call it roadie road because you got to mix it up, right? Where are you going? Road. Okay. Shreveport, LA. That's Louisiana. Okay. Okay, so let's get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go in the link above, you'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and you can look into coaching. Missouri, but from Mississippi. Okay, welcome. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh, nothing important. Okay, so let's get Alberta. Hi, Alberta. Okay. So let me think. Okay, so I'm just waiting for your questions now. I don't know why, but Facebook's been really slow lately, which is good. It means I should be able to get to all your questions. Instagram and TikTok are crazy busy. And YouTube, I'm just kind of growing on there. I'm just learning about YouTube. Actually, my daughter does all my social media, so I'm not learning about it. She is. I don't know why I decided to take credit for that. Cincinnati, Ohio, welcome. Okay. Egg Harbor City. Where is that? New Jersey. Oh, never heard of that before. Welcome. Okay. By the way, I don't know if a lot of people follow me all across my platforms. Instagram, we sent out a questionnaire. We got hundreds of responses. We just put it out yesterday, and I thought we might get 50. We got hundreds. I just want to let you know that we looked at my daughter, she looked at them all, and we were going through them this morning. So I really do appreciate if you were one of the ones who did that. I really appreciate that. Okay, this is from Zoe on YouTube. Hello, what is the best way to deal with my 2.5-year-old that keeps hitting other children? You use consistent corrective actions with toddlers who hit. You might want to check out my Toddlers Who Hit course. I have a whole course on that. It's one of my dumbest naming courses, Toddlers Who Hit and Bite. Like, Wow, how creative. Anyway, check that out if you want to know how to do it. But basically, you just use consistent corrective actions. When they hit the first time, you say no and you remove them from the other child or remove the other child from them. And then when they go to hit subsequent times, you want to be on the call here. You want to be watching this and you prevent future hits. The more they get used to hitting, the more likely they are to continue doing it. So try and prevent future hits. So I'm just trying to set up so you're not looking at my phone here on YouTube. Okay. Pardon me. Vancouver, BC. Hello. By the way, I do notice a lot of people recognize me when I'm out walking around. Just come up and say hi, because if you look at me like this and you don't come up and say hi to me, I assume I got a booger hanging out of my face. So come up and say hi to me, please, because I get that every day. I get someone looking at me like this every single day. So I'm assuming I don't have a booger on my face, but I kind of goes through my mind. So please come up and say hi if you see me walking around. Surprise, Arizona. Hi. Is that the name of where you're from? Do you actually live in a place called Surprise? I'm going to look that up. That's a fun name. Surprise, Arizona. It's like living in a place called Fun. That's cute. Okay, I'm going to look it up after this. Okay, just got a message from my daughter. My daughter just joined me full-time. She left her corporate job last week, and now we're full-time. We had our board meeting this morning. We're used to working separately in our own homes. We were together and we were laughing because our board meeting, of course, we're locking heads just over stupid stuff. And we said the company falls apart within the first board meeting. That's funny. Mothers and daughters. Actually, we get along beautifully. We're very lucky. Okay. How can I get my 17-month-old to say words instead of pointing and whining? Okay, that's a slow burn thing. Don't be quick. There's so many different ways I could go about this. But if they're pointing and whining because they want something, you hold it up. I would say, you want the pen? Can you say pen? Don't give it to them until they try to say the word. Doesn't mean they're going to be able to, but say, can you say pen? And when they try, then give it to them. But if they keep whining, say, can you say pen? Never get angry at this stuff. It's a slow burn. They're going to learn eventually. But yeah, in the meantime. Sofia, Bulgaria. I don't have any clients in Bulgaria. I don't think I have had any clients. I coach people all over the world. It's absolutely fascinating because I learned so much about different cultures. And I do have to change a lot of my methods to suit different cultures. An example of that is a lot of men who are the head of the household in different cultures will not be on that behavior board. Now, do you think I'm stupid enough to try and get them on there? I think that's disrespectful. Because I always talk about everyone has to be on the behavior board. I have to respect that. So we have to work around that. I love it. I absolutely love the challenge. Coaching is my absolute favorite thing to do. I keep saying I'm going to quit coaching because it takes up so much of my day. I don't know if I ever could. I just love it. Okay. Because as much as I love these lives, the coaching is personal. I really get to know people. But yeah, I got a wait list. I'm not trying to sell coaching here. I got a wait list for that. But I do love talking to parents. So I think I'm going to sneeze. Oh my goodness. I get these hay fever sneezes that just come on like a storm. I don't see them coming. I'll do a few of them in a row. I don't want to do that to you. Okay, 9-year-old has an attitude to only her 7-year-old brother and very pleasant to everyone else. Sometimes it's really obvious and other times passive aggressive or bossy. What can I do to help make this attitude better? Okay, what is a 7-year-old doing? Oftentimes the attitude towards another sibling is a retaliation for something that's going on. I would have to assess that. Is the 7-year-old poking and annoying the 9-year-old? Or are they truly a victim of the 9-year-old's victim attitude? I don't know. I'd have to look into that. You don't need me for coaching for that, but think about it. Is it the 9-year-old retaliating because the 7-year-old is annoying as anything, and the 7-year-old doing annoying things just because that's the only way they can get attention from the 9-year-old? That's often the way when I'm coaching. That often is the way. You said, I do, ha, ha, ha. You do what? I never remember what I've just said, so I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry about that. Okay. Oh, the surprise sneezes? Yeah, they're ugly too. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see my sneeze in motion right in the camera. Okay. This is sort of a gray area. If a 2-year-old is oversleeping, should we shave time off from the 2-hour nap or from the night sleep? The 2-hour nap. Yeah, because they're going to eventually stop having naps anyway. I don't like to interfere with nighttime sleeps, but I have no problem interfering with napping. What is a good way to describe boundaries to littlies? Through actions. I don't know what you mean by boundaries. You mean where they can go, or through actions. You don't, okay. When you said describe, you want to do the therapy sessions talking to your toddler so they'll understand something. You can talk to a toddler till you're blue in the face and they can understand exactly what you're saying, but doesn't mean they're going to do it or not do it. Okay. Their lack of impulse control is the problem, not their understanding. It's the lack of impulse control. Toddlers can understand right from wrong. It doesn't mean that they're going to do the right thing and not do the wrong thing because they don't have that control yet. They learn it gradually over repetition with you doing consistent corrective actions. Okay. Davie, Florida. I think I had a client from there recently or last year. Oh, some of my favorite clients to get are the Southerners with the heavy, heavy accents. I love a Southern accent. You know, like Dolly Parton. I had someone who was literally right from where she was from. And boy, their accent was unbelievable. I don't know why. Just really attracted to that accent. I think it's gorgeous. Okay, my 5-year-old listens well most of the time, but once in a blue moon, he will flat out tell me no. What do I do in that situation? That means that he respects you most of the time, but not all the time. If you want them to respect you all the time, you set yourself up as a leader. Check out my boot camp course. It's in the link above, everything I have is in the link above. So check that out, and it sets you up as a leader. They just don't say no to leaders. They would be embarrassed. Like if my kids had said no to me, I would have gone, what? Because we were like friends. We had a great relationship, and I was like their mentor. I was their leader. They don't tend to treat their leader like that. So yeah, just up your leadership skills. That's all. Okay. Sorry, I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your question. Does the jealousy of a sibling go away? My 3-year-old daughter is quite jealous of her little 1-year-old sister. Okay. Yes and no. It depends on their personalities. You can't always fix sibling relationships. Like they have to work that out to a point. But I don't like to do the one-on-one time. When I'm around little kids or when I'm teaching little kids or any age kids to get along, I don't do I strongly recommend you don't do one-on-one time with them. You play with them together. And then they learn how to enjoy each other with you. They're facilitating it. They're less likely to have animosity, anger, fighting, whatever between them if they learn how to play together with you, teaching them how to do that. So, and you always play to the weakest link. You play something that the little one can play, and it's nothing competitive. It's just silly stuff. Do magic tricks, do singing, TikTok videos, dancing, whatever. It's all silly stuff, okay? Play is their love language. And when they have fun together, they're less likely to fight, okay? Okay. I don't quite know what you mean by this. Ivana. Sorry, I'm probably saying it wrong. I'll tell you something really embarrassing. Years ago, about 17 years ago when I started my business, I had this client, and it's when I was using Skype. And I had his name written, but I'd never heard it before. So he first arrived on Skype, and I said, "Hi, Jesus. It's nice to meet you." And he said, "Actually, it was spelled Jesus." He said, "Actually, it's pronounced Jesus." But he didn't laugh or anything. He says, "I hear that all the time." I felt so stupid. Anyway, I've told that story a million times. He did think it was funny that I thought it was so funny, but he said, "No, I hear it all the time." Okay. So this is from Ivana. Okay. I have a little problem with entering the world of my daughter too. I always say you enter their world to connect with them. You don't expect them to find their inner adult to connect with you. Okay. She adores when I want to play, but she actually does not play with me, but beside me. Should I engage or no? Whatever okay, so she wants to play beside you. That's okay. That's okay. You're still there. They do notice when you're there. I'll tell you this really cute story. It was a friend of my son years and years ago, and he had a little boy who lived in another province. So he lived far away. And they didn't have, I don't know why, but they weren't doing FaceTime. This is years ago. And so every single night, this dad would call his young son, and the son would put the phone down and just play beside the phone. And he would talk to himself and play. And then the dad, when he had to go, because he was paying these long distance calls, right? It was ridiculous. And I think the mom was making it a little bit difficult for him. So anyway, so when the dad had to go, he'd yell out to his son and say, I got to go now. And the son would go over and he goes, no, I'm not finished playing. I want you to keep listening to me. Is that the cutest thing? He was playing on his own, but he was very aware that his dad was there listening. So they're very aware when you're there. I get goosebumps every time I tell that story. Is that the sweetest little thing? Okay. How do I get my toddler to stop saying no when I ask him to do something? Sometimes he just gets up and does it with no other problem. Then other times it's hard. Okay. So how do you get a toddler to stop saying no? You just ignore that. So you say, okay, we're going to have a bath. And he says, no, I'd pick him up and put him in the bath. You follow the no up with action. So if you want him to do something, you follow it up with action. Oh, okay, hand me that toy now. We're going to go out. No, pick up the toy and put it away and go out. You follow up your request with an action. Don't argue with them. The more you argue, the more they're going to say no. Okay, that's weakness in you. And they sense that. Boy, they sense that. They go in for the jugular when they realize you don't know what you're doing. They just do. They're clever. Like, it was interesting. My kids, they learned at a very young age. When mom said something, it was going to happen. I'd say, okay, we're going to change your nappy. I raised my kids in Australia. So, okay, we're going to change your nappy. And they would just let it happen. Whereas with their dad, he was more the pleaser. This is usually the way. There's one that's sort of more in charge than the other. And he'd say, okay, we're going to change your nappy. And they would run around the house, or they'd kind of whine or complain about it and fight him on the change table. But with me, they knew it was going to happen anyway. They knew mom was all about actions. So they knew there's no point fighting with mom. You want to win these battles with toddlers, because if you let them win, then they become more the leader. Okay, then it's a real fight. The earlier you win the battles, the better. What time is it? I actually have to go now. I've got a client in a little bit, but I want to hit Instagram and TikTok before I go. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I'm heading over to Instagram now. That's one of my really busy platforms, so I don't get to all those questions. But YouTube is my slowest platform because it's my smallest audience right now. So just to let you know, if you go on YouTube, I'd be more likely to answer your questions on there because I'm heading over to Instagram and TikTok, and they're very busy. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Always appreciate it. Thank you. Happy parenting. They changed the way they do it, and now it just has. I'm like, oh, I don't deal well with change because I'm older, right? Accent Fleet. I love that question. I'm going to answer it once people start turning up. Instagram's fast. They all turn up in one clump. So it takes about 10 seconds and I'll have a big group. I don't know why Instagram's the only one that does that. I say it every single day. I say that, but it's just confusing to me why Instagram's like that and the other platforms aren't. Okay, here we go. Okay, thanks so much for joining me. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you'll see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list for coaching, but if you're in crisis, oh, shoot. Oh, no, I did deal with it. I just remembered someone had written crisis in their subject line. I thought, did I answer that email? I said, if you're in crisis, put it in there and I'll get to you right away. And then I thought, ooh, did I answer them? Yeah, I did. Okay. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. I'm going to do the best I can to answer as many as possible. Remember, I like to mix up the ages so that, it's sort of for everybody. I do specialize in teenagers, but most people online seem to have toddlers. In coaching, it's all ages. But when I get these lives going, it's mostly toddler parents. But if you have teenagers, that's my specialty. That's my favorite age. So feel free to answer questions about any age. Okay, I really like this question from Axon Fleet on YouTube. If two kids are fighting over a toy and I didn't see who had the toy first, should I just remove the toy altogether? Yes. You say, okay, so you're fighting over the toy. Let's put it away for 5 minutes. And then what you do is you flip a coin or whatever, and you say, pick a side, whatever. You can do whatever. Pick something up, put it in your hand behind your back, and say, whoever guesses gets it first next time. So it's like that. I often talk about sharing, and I use a swing as an example. So you flip a coin to see who gets that swing first or who gets that toy first when you do hand it back, and they get a shorter turn. So they might get it for 1 minute, and then every turn after that is 2 minutes. You're going to have to sit there and facilitate this for a while if possible, and then they will learn how to share. The idea is they get bored with it and they end up not fighting, and the other kid goes and finds something else. But yeah, you're always sort of exercising your leadership. Like, you know how to take care of business. My kids never fought, or even other kids when I was working with them rarely fought under my care. What they would do is if someone did something unfair, they'd look at me because I'm a leader. They know I know how to take care of business. So once you get better at this, they tend to fight less and look to you more to take care of business. The parents often make the mistake of punishing the retaliator rather than the instigator. If you have a child who just hit another kid, you're very quick to punish that hitter, but often it's the instigator who went like this, the first time that happens, I punish the instigator, not the retaliator. And then I say to the retaliator, I say, okay, this time, if you hit in future, then you're going to get in trouble. But this time I'm going to punish the one or have a consequence for this one. But in future, come to me. Let me deal with it. Don't you deal with it. And they do. They learn how to do this. I'll tell you a really cute story. I had a client about a month or two ago, and they had a 3 and a 15-month-old, 3-year-old and a 15-month-old. And they were both hitting each other. And the rule for the little boy, who was 3, on the behavior board was no hitting. And every time his little sister would hit him, he would hit her back. Of course, knock her right on her butt, right? Because she was so little. So he was learning how not to hit. But this was really cute. The mom saw this one day. She couldn't believe it. So the behavior board was up, and it said no hitting for him. And he was starting to learn this. So his little sister hit him. For the first time, he didn't hit her back. He grabbed her hand. He walked her over to the board and said, see, no hitting. Is that the cutest thing? And he felt proud of himself. It's really sweet. Okay. All righty. Oh, thanks so much for answering that questionnaire. My daughter put that out yesterday. Your feedback, any toddler questions that you had. I don't know if we can take in any more. We were just trying to process that in a meeting this morning. There was hundreds of them. We didn't know that many would come in. So yeah, we had a lot. So we've added to this thing we're working on like you wouldn't believe. So yeah, it's doubled in size, what I was working on, or what we were working on. It's doubled because of your questions, or your answering your questions yesterday. It was good. So thanks so much for that. Hey, Bratbuster, I'm super concerned about my 2-year-old who doesn't settle ever. She has major tantrums where she hits her head on anything and bites herself. She is super happy baby. She is a super happy baby, but she's not now. So in other words, she was a happy baby. Now she's a miserable toddler. Okay, I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers, and hopefully I'll hit on something on there that tweaks with you. Okay, number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, this is probably for you. Number 3 is you connect with your toddlers in their world. A toddler to me is under the age of 3, so it's 1 and 2-year-olds. You connect in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Play is their love language. She may be frustrated because you're not playing with her enough. I don't know. Okay. They look at you differently when you connect with them in their world. They just do. Number 4 is kind of similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. They're not about words. They're about actions. None of these mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings and big emotions. It's garbage. It's absolute crap. That was invented to make mom feel good about herself. It has nothing to do with the toddler. They're all about actions, not words. Number 5 is stop trying to figure toddlers out. They're not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got 1 marble and some tumbleweed floating around in there. Okay, they're all feet, no brains, cute as a button. But imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like, they're just forming. They're brand new. Cut them some slack. Okay. Yeah, we play loads and have a fantastic, loving relationship, but she is intense. Okay, just keep following me. Sometimes you just got to wait them out. Whenever I get parents who have older kids, and they usually hire me for the older kids, and they have a toddler too, sometimes I'll just ask them this question so I can tell you this. I'll say, do you want to discuss the toddler? And they'll usually say, nah, they're just nuts. They've already lived through toddlers. They understand toddlers don't make any sense. Don't try and make sense out of them. They haven't developed sense yet. I always call them crazy. It's just that they haven't developed common sense yet, right? Do you think much of ADHD in 2-year-olds? I'm not a doctor. I really don't address that stuff. But most kids I work with were alphabet kids. They had all sorts of acronyms after their name. No one ever said to me, here's an easy one, Lisa. They all went, good luck with this one. So I always worked with all the kids who were challenging, teenagers, toddlers, whatever. I remember once we broke up in this classroom and the teacher had this activities day. So all these moms and or dads, I don't remember, they all turned up to help out when we were splitting all the classroom up into groups. And darned if that teacher didn't give me all 6 of the challenging kids. You think she would have spread them out a little bit? And she said, okay, and you go with Lisa and you go with Lisa. And I just looked at her like this. Because I was always there helping out, but it was hilarious. I thought, gee, you're really going to work me today, aren't you? And she went, yeah. She didn't want to do that to the other parents. She gave me all the kids in my group were all the most challenging kids. It worked out great because, this is sort of what I teach. But anyway, it's still exhausting. It's hard work. How do you deal with a no and a stomping foot after I've asked her to do something? Well, I don't know her age. Is she 16 or 6 or 2? I don't know the age. And that's in the attitude department. I don't address attitude. There's no point whatsoever. None. How to be a fun parent. The children's love language is fun. I used to say my weapon of choice with kids and teenagers. With kids, it was fun. With teenagers, it was humor. So yeah, I always try and keep things light and fun, but I don't take any crap either. I don't ignore anything that I don't like, but I'm very quick to get that over with. And then I focus on the good kid. I always say where you put your energy, where you put your focus is what grows. So I deal with bad behavior, then I focus on the good kid. That's the pool story. That's the very first video on my Instagram and TikTok, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. It's the pool story. It's exactly explains how I look at leadership parenting. Okay. Deal with bad behavior, but focus on the good kid. Where you put your focus is what grows. And if children like themselves when they're with you, they tend to want to please you. What did I write? I wrote that down really well. Oh, yeah. No, I didn't write it down that well. I thought it was so profound. I just said it 2 days ago. There's 2 things I said 2 days ago with a client. I thought they were so profound, I wrote them down. The client was looking at me like this. But anyway, so I have to write that down because I never say anything clever. So I thought this was really clever. I got to reword it because it's not written very well. Anyway, this is what I wrote. And it's true. The idea is good. Okay. If your kids feel good around you, so if they feel good about themselves around you, then they're good around you. If they feel bad about themselves around you, they're going to be bad around you. So my goal was always to make kids like themselves when they were with me. Therefore, they want to please me. I remember one of the nicest things anyone ever said to me was one of the troubled teens I worked with. And he says, I never liked myself until I met you. Wow, that's powerful. So that was sort of my gift. I knew how to bring out the best in kids. I knew how to focus on the good stuff, how to find it. And I used to say with the teenagers, God, I need a microscope to find anything good about you. And they'd laugh. I mean, I worked with some pretty rough teenagers. So, but anyway. I don't know what you're talking about. Someone on YouTube's talking. Sometimes I don't know what people are talking about. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't usually discuss autism on here. That's more of a specialty. I only discuss autism, ASD on the spectrum in coaching, but I will address this. My daughter is being assessed for autism. She's only 4. That's often when they're assessed, by the way. She isn't afraid of anything and is always running off when we're out. Okay, she's a runner. What I do with runners is I say, there's no running away from me. So you put a harness on her before you go out. And then when she starts to run when you're out, you clip her in. You say no running and then clip her in. She's going to have to learn because that's a life and death safety issue. There's no way I would fool with that. So she might have a fit and be really upset. So just do some trial runs the first times you do this, because you don't want to be going anywhere really important when you first start clipping her in with a leash. But yeah, I recommend this all the time. Would you rather than have your kid on a leash or flattened under a bus? So. Toddler keeps saying, go away. Well, you mean if you don't have to do anything? I don't know. I don't know the context around that. That's in the attitude department. They're testing you out. Like, how much is my nasty words going to affect you? Are you going to get upset? I would just go, okay, and just walk away. That's like when you're dealing with a kid who's mad at you and they say, I hate you. You're the worst parent ever. And I always say, you got to master this one word. You just go, whatever, and walk away. Don't ever be manipulated. That's a manipulation tactic. And they're little, they're going to start learning this stuff. Just ignore it. Okay, again, you asked about autism, and this is an 11-year-old. That would be coaching. I do have a wait list for coaching, but you can still look into it. Yeah. And I mix up the ages with my clients. So even though I have a big wait list, I still might take you on, you never know, like fast, just because I need to mix up the ages. I remember one week I was too stupid. I didn't figure this out. It was a whole week of basically all teenage stuff. And that's my specialty. I love working with troubled teens, but it's exhausting. If I do that all day, 5 days in a row, I only did it that once. And I thought, wow, that was really stupid of me. It was all these teen client stuff. It's more taxing on me because I have to think. Not with teenagers and under that, I don't have to think when they're younger. But with teenagers, I have to, it can be serious, crisis work. So I have to really put my thinking cap on. And the older I get, the harder that's getting. Okay. How to make bedtime a happy time. Check out my bedtime battles course. It's all about having a bedtime routine. So it's in 2 parts, how to get them there. That's the bedtime routine. Then the second part is how to keep them there. The first part is a happy time. Second part can get real ugly. It's usually one really nasty night, one night of hell, but it's worth it. That is by far one of the most common things I discuss in coaching with parents of younger children. And it's also one of the quickest results. It's also one of the hardest things to do, but it's fast results. So yeah, it comes up every single week. I've usually got several parents doing it over a weekend, the bedtime battles. And I always say, do it over a weekend when you don't need sleep. Okay, I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're still here. You asked me, I get asked this sometimes, but it's one of those questions I don't address. Does screen time really affect kids? Nobody really knows. Like, I'm sure there's studies out there, but you can find that confirmation bias. You can find studies to back up anything you believe pretty much. And I think screen time is one of those areas. We don't really have all the information yet to know how many hours a day, how many minutes a day, or if any screens are good for kids. I think we all agree too much is too much, but anyway, we don't really know. The jury's kind of out on exactly what's healthy and what isn't, because we haven't found all the data yet. We haven't had screens long enough to know that. But I can remember, and I often use this as an example, but usually people are too young and they go, who? So I remember I was actually too young for this too, but when Elvis Presley first came out and was moving his hips, they thought he was going to ruin all teenagers, and they survived. Like, I think screens are kind of like that. We need them. We're all working on them. So, it's kind of a necessary part of life, but it's just how much is too much. Elvis Presley was the singer back in the day. One-on-one better than screens. Yeah, I think a mix. Kids are learning a lot with screens too, so it's not all bad. Yeah, like the world has become very small thanks to screens, thanks to the internet. And yeah. Okay, actually, I have to go. I have to move over I got a client coming up soon, and I've got to move over to TikTok before then. Anyway, thanks so much for answering those questions on toddlers yesterday. My daughter put out a forum on my Instagram. I don't know how to do it, but anyway, she put it on there somewhere. We got hundreds of responses. So I don't know if she still wants more coming in, but we were working on that this morning and going, whoa, that was a lot. So I really do appreciate that. I doubled what we're working on in regard to toddlers. It literally doubled after that questionnaire went out. So anyway, thanks so much for that. Yeah, it's probably more than doubled. I'm just looking at everything we did today on that. Anyway, thanks so much for that. I really do appreciate it. And I do appreciate you being here. You know that I don't take you guys for granted. When you have a message that you really are passionate about and you feel that you're helping people, it's wonderful when people start listening and really, put into practice and sort of validate that, yeah, I am on the right track. I am helping people. It just makes my job just a joy, really. I love what I do. So thanks so much for that. I really appreciate you. And I'm moving over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. If not, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. So happy parenting. Bye now.
The way you scramble eggs.
That's TikTok. It starts up with an ad now. Okay, just I have to send my daughter a message here. Okay. Just had to message my daughter, ask her a question. I forgot to do something on Facebook here. Okay. Wow. I love that you have helped so many teens. I moved out at the age of 13. 13. Wow. Must have been a rough home life to leave at that young age. One good leader was able to help change my life around by making me feel good about myself. Isn't that what it's all about? Parents tend to want to focus on the bad behavior rather than the good kid. I see that every single day. You focus on the good kid, not the bad behavior. It's the other. That's what it is, right? Oh, okay. Okay. I'm going to. My daughter just gave me an order here because I asked her what to do. So anyway, let me think. How many people have I got here? I'm just going to wait a minute before I tell this story. Okay. Alrighty. By the way, thanks so much for the following. I'm almost at 700,000 now on TikTok. So unbelievable. This is my biggest platform: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. YouTube isn't a social media; it's a search engine. But yeah, TikTok's my biggest platform. So I'm almost at 700,000. That's just mind-boggling. Can't even wrap my head around 7,000 people. I remember years ago, someone said, I've got 10,000 followers. And I thought, how does that even compute? 10,000 followers. Yeah, I've got, I think, 1.3 million across my platforms now. That's just an old lady sitting here and, with my messy hair and just talking about kids. Unbelievable. Okay. So thanks so much for joining me. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I'm going to tell you the swing story. Now, the swing story is about tantrums. And it has two very distinct paths on how to manage tantrums. One is a good one. One is a not so good one. So anyway, here's the swing story. This is a true story. My son was 2 years old and he had tantrums. They're either born to have tantrums or they're not. My daughter never had them. I never had one, but my son had them. Okay. They're born. It's in your DNA. Anyway, so I go to the park and there was a brand new mom there. She was new in the neighborhood and all the gossip around the neighborhood was, oh, we got someone new. We're all excited, right? Because, another new mom with a little toddler, because we were all like about the same age. It was a new district anyway. So we're all excited to meet her. And I was the first one to meet her. She was down at the park with her little boy, 2-year-old boy. And I had a 2-year-old boy. So we are introducing ourselves. You can tell we're both really excited to meet each other. So we're chatting away and we're putting our little boys on the swings. There's 2 swings, 2 toddlers. So, and they both go at the same time. Now we're just trying to chat. We're not really paying any attention to our sons. They both point to the other one's swing. So we say, well, let's just change it. Who cares? We're just trying to chat, right? We go to move them over and they both start tantruming right away. So here's what she does. She goes over to the one bench and I go over to the other one. She goes over there. The whole time she's talking to her little boy. Well, if you did the right thing, if you just waited, mommy would have put. So she's doing the mini therapy sessions. She's doing the best she knows how. She's trying her best to try and manage this tantrum, try and talk him off the cliff, try and discuss all his emotions, all his feelings. He's getting worse and worse and worse. The tantrum lasted 20 minutes. Then after that, this was her opportunity. I always say that you ignore the tantrum, then you ignore the crazy, which is the tantrum, then you reward the calm after the tantrum. So he's finished his tantrum and he's got the hiccup cries and he's going, and then okay, so here's what she did. She didn't know. She was doing her best. I felt bad for her. So anyway, then she discusses the whole 20-minute tantrum. She goes into it, great detail. He's 2. And she's doing a therapy session. She's discussing it all. He was miserable. Anyway, we ended up leaving before I saw them get back on the swing. But 30 minutes prior, when they both started the tantrums, here's what I did. I took my son over to the bench and he was screaming and kicking like her son was. So my son instantly I put him on the bench. He went to run for the swing. I put my arm out right away. He knew me well enough to know that arm's not going to go away. He's not going to get back to the swing. So he sat back because he knew me by now. So he knew the drill. So he's crying. Now here's what I'm doing. I'm completely ignoring him. I'm looking at the trees, the birds, like I'm just waiting. That's all I'm doing. I'm waiting. And it only lasted about 2 minutes. As soon as he finished having this tantrum, I said, oh, y'all done? Okay, let's go back on the swing. I ignored the crazy and rewarded the calm. He was starting to catch on to this. He knew as soon as that tantrum stopped, he'd probably get back on the swing. So anyway, the tantrum stopped, we went back on the swing. And then for the rest of that half hour, I just felt so bad for her. She was doing her best, but she kept feeding it. Any attention is tantrum food. Whenever you're trying to talk them off the cliff, talking about their emotions, talking about anything, even eye contact, any attention is fertilizing that tantrum. So anyway, I felt really bad for her. My son was getting tired of swinging. So we went home and they were still sitting on the bench. She looked like a rag doll. She was so emotionally distraught by the end of it. But anyway, that's the swing story. So, yeah. Now, the thing is that children are not going to learn this right away. My son was already starting to clue in. He was 2. He was starting to understand that mom is never going to feed a tantrum. He was starting to sort of come out of them. Now, they're not going to really stop having tantrums completely if they're that way inclined till they're about 3 or maybe 3.5. But they're going to diminish in intensity, duration, and frequency. So that's what I was working with. But yeah, they're not just going to stop having tantrums because it's in their DNA. It's just the way they deal with stuff. They can't handle those emotions. So anyway, that's that. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting. When's the right age to start ignoring their tantrums? I do have a whole course on tantrums if you're interested. I'd say about 16 months. That's when I consider them toddlers. 16 to 35 months, in my mind, that's a toddler. So 16 to 35 months. Under that, they're kind of a baby, and you want to do indirect redirection. What I mean by that is you don't say, here's this, you don't try and stop the tantrum that way. But I would go sit in a corner or sit on the couch or on the floor and read their favorite book out loud to myself. It is redirecting, but you're not looking at them or talking to them. The idea is that they're going to go, oh, that looks kind of interesting. And they're going to come sit in your lap and, you can read the book. If they come over and start hitting you because they're still upset, I would make myself inaccessible. I would sit up on the couch or just hold them away from me while I'm reading the book, or I might just get up and sort of wander around and not let them get to me. But yeah, it's indirect redirection. Does that make sense? Okay. I love that you've helped so many teens. Sorry, I already read that out. Sorry about that. So if you're in a restaurant, do you take them outside? Oh, yes, I would never put a restaurant through a tantrum. Take them out in the parking lot or in your car. Let them get the tantrum out of their system then. Then you can try and bring them back in. If they start with another tantrum, I would say, doggy bag, please, and I would just leave. I wouldn't put a whole restaurant through that. I think that's rude. Also, if you go on a plane, how to travel with toddlers, or if you go on a plane with a toddler, and they're going to have a tantrum, give them whatever they want. Do not put a plane full of people through a tantrum. I think that's ridiculous. Give in to whatever they want. It's the only time you don't ignore a tantrum. The only way to stop a tantrum is to give them what they want. So I would give them whatever they want, and they connect the dots. They understand that that's only on the plane. Once you get off the plane, then you go back to the other way, and they will connect the dots. They'll understand that. But yeah, I've traveled with toddlers. We lived in Australia and traveled to Canada to visit my family. That's a 24-hour trip because we had a stopover, and I had an 18-month-old. I gave him whatever he wanted. There's no way I would put a plane full of people through a crying kid. Yeah, and he stayed up for 24 hours. He was 18 months old. His eyes were weird. They were wide, but they weren't really seeing. You know how they're like, by the time we all got there, we looked like that. Yeah, but he was good. He didn't end up having tantrums, but I would have given in to them. How long into a tantrum do you discipline or talk to them? You don't discipline a tantrum. A tantrum is not bad behavior. You don't discuss a tantrum before, during, or after. It's a loss of emotional control. There is no need to discuss that at all. Let them learn how to do that. Let them learn how to work through that themselves. You never discuss a tantrum. Never. What's the point? Some of my clients are child psychologists. They will discuss that with me. They don't agree with. There's a few things that we argue about. That's one of them. And as far as I'm concerned, I've never lost that argument. They might feel differently, but yeah, you never give a tantrum any attention. And they've hired me for my advice, so they usually take it. But yeah, you don't give any attention to a tantrum before, during, or after. It's a loss of emotional control at hearing the word no and not getting their own way. Do you really need to address that? Okay. Do you comfort them after a tantrum or just move on? Oh, God, you do not comfort that. That's like saying good tantrum. Good. And you don't want to look like you pity them for that because you're giving it attention. Need a hug. You're all right. Okay, let's go to the park. That's what my mother would have said. She was so good at that. Like if I got all upset over something, she'd go, you're okay. Okay, let's go do some baking. Oh, okay. Mom never gave that any fuel at all, and neither did I. So if they want to hug, hug, you're okay. Okay, let's read a book. So you do it like that, like it's no big deal, like it's a non-event. That's how you treat that. And they're like, oh, okay. The more you comfort, the more they lean into the tantrum because they think, oh, at the end of a tantrum, I'm going to be comforted. And you see, it's sort of feeding the tantrum in a way. Okay, they hurt themselves during a tantrum. This comes up all the time. You just physically restrain them, stop them from hurting themselves. You don't look at them or talk to them, though. You just hold them and look away. And then when they go again, you grab them again, just for a minute or two. Would they be able to learn to self-regulate on their own? It's extremely important to allow a toddler to understand when they hear the word no to work themselves out of it. They are learning that is their process of accepting the word no. You allow them to go into a tantrum, have a tantrum, and get themselves out. If you interrupt that process, it's a process. If you interrupt it, they're not learning a thing. Allow them to learn that when they hear the word no, they've got to learn to get themselves out of that fit. And they will, because you're calm as a cucumber. Calm as a cucumber. Transition help, please. Transitioning from something fun they don't want to leave. You take action. You can give them a bit of a warning. Okay, we're going to be leaving in 5 minutes. Okay, we're leaving soon. Okay, and then they start having a fit. Pick them up and take them out. You may end up looking like crazy because they've been kicking and screaming and you're sweating and everything, but you take action. So they will eventually understand that when you say we're leaving, you're leaving. My son had problems with that. He had problems with transitions. Not every time, but I could always tell when he was going to do it too. I remember we were at a friend's house once and I said, we're going to be leaving soon. And he went like this. He was like 2. The way he looked at me, I thought, oh, this is going to get ugly. But I picked him up, carted him out, kicking and screaming. And he didn't do it the next time, but he sure did it that day. Okay. Sorry. Now, I just want to reiterate that most of what these lives are all about talking about discipline. That's not what I teach at all. Most of my teaching, all my coaching is about connecting with your kids. Discipline is like get that out of the way, but then you connect. You put all your energy and all your focus into connecting with your kids. You deal with the bad behavior, but then you focus on the good kid. But whenever I'm doing a live, I'm sort of reacting to your questions, and I have to keep correcting myself with that and say, really, this is all about connecting with your children. So, and by the way, kids love language is fun. That was my superpower with kids. I was good at having fun with kids. I was crazy Lisa. I had fun, but I don't take any crap. Okay. And then they learn very quickly. They really like fun Lisa. Fun Lisa disappears like that if they do something naughty, just temporarily. So they learn. That was all I had with other kids. I couldn't discipline them. I had no, you know what I mean? I had no power, but I could take away fun Lisa. So, and that is their love language. They feel good about themselves when you're having fun with them. And it's all in their world, not your world. You don't go to the nail salon with a little kid. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. By the way, if you want to know the way I look at leadership parenting, check out the very first video on here on TikTok. It's called Example of Leadership Parenting. And it's the pool story. I've told that story millions of times. I can't even hear myself when I say it anymore. But I just nailed every single point in that story. So I quickly I told my daughter, I said, get that one out there. That was a good one. So anyway, the pool story is all about correcting bad behavior and then focusing on the good kid. That's all it is. You let it go. You don't remind them of the bad behavior. Parents do this all the time. They discipline the bad kid or the bad behavior, and then they focus on the good kid, and then they want to talk about the bad kid again or the bad behavior again. Why would you do that? That becomes their identity. You've already dealt with it. Let it go. Let it go. By the way, you're not perfect either. You make mistakes too. Allow your kids to do that. Okay. We all tend to be harder on our kids than we are on ourselves. You know, it's interesting. I was talking to someone, I think it was on here, and they said, I couldn't believe it. I explained to my 2-year-old why you don't do that. And they did it again. And they said, they know that that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. Understanding what you should do doesn't make you do it. Are there things that you should be doing? Do you eat perfectly? Do you exercise daily? Do you get all your to-dos done every single day? You know what I mean? Like, none of us are perfect. Don't expect too much from your children. I do find that parents tend to expect more from their kids than they expect from themselves. I'm actually the opposite. I expect a lot from myself and less from other people. Or I think I do anyway. I'm pretty hard on myself. because I'm very self-aware. I actually know I am. I'm very self-aware. And a lot of parents aren't. They just tend to not look in the mirror and see themselves as being human, but their kids are just being human and they get mad at them. So yeah, they're just people. They're going to make mistakes just like you. Which reminds me of my top. Oh, I got to get going soon. Actually, I don't have time to tell it. Anyway, yeah, I got a client coming up soon, so I got to run around and do a couple things first. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. What was I going to say? Anyway, okay, check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. And I do have a big wait list for coaching, but I mix up the ages. So you never know when I might take someone who just, wants to sign up today. But it's just because I really do need to mix up the ages just for my own sanity. I can't do all teenagers all day because I have to really think when it's like teen crisis work. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And I'll be back again tomorrow with my regularly scheduled live. Happy parenting. Bye now.